What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved actors walks onto a talk show expecting a friendly conversation and instead gets blindsided by a comment so offensive that he can't hold back? Danny DeVito has always been known for his easygoing personality and quick wit. But what unfolded on The View left audiences absolutely speechless. Before we get into what Joy Behar said that set him off, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think about this whole situation. So let's set the scene. Danny DeVito walks out onto the View stage to massive applause. The audience is thrilled to see him. He's there to promote his latest project, and everything seems perfectly normal. He takes his seat, shares a few laughs with the panel, and the interview starts off on a light note. Whoopi Goldberg asks him about his new film, and Danny delivers some hilarious behind-the-scenes stories that have everyone cracking up. The energy is positive, the conversation is flowing, and it looks like it's going to be just another fun celebrity appearance. Then Joy Behar leans forward with that look on her face. You know, the one where you can tell she's about to say something she thinks is clever? She interrupts the natural flow of the conversation and says, "Danny, I have to ask you something that's been on my mind. You've played all these memorable characters over the years, but let's be honest, isn't it true that you've basically been typecast your entire career because of your appearance? I mean, you're not exactly leading man material, are you?" The studio goes quiet. You can actually hear the audience members gasping. The other hosts look uncomfortable, shifting in their seats. Danny's smile fades instantly. He sits back in his chair and just stares at Joy for a moment, like he's processing whether she actually just said what he thinks she said. "Excuse me," Danny says, his voice calm but with an edge to it. "What did you just say?" Joy, either not reading the room or not caring, doubles down. "Oh, come on, Danny. Don't be so sensitive. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. You've had a great career playing quirky characters in comedy roles, but you have to admit that Hollywood puts you in a box because of how you look. It's not like they were ever going to cast you as the romantic lead or the action hero." Danny leans forward now, and you can see his jaw tightening. "Joy, let me make sure I understand you correctly. You're sitting here on national television telling me that my entire career, everything I've worked for, every role I've carefully chosen, every character I've brought to life is just because of how I look, that I've been put in some kind of box." Whoopi tries to jump in. "Maybe we should move on to ... But Danny raises his hand. "No, Whoopi, I want to hear this." I want Joy to finish her thought because I think America deserves to hear exactly what she's trying to say. Joy looks a bit flustered now, but she keeps going. "I'm just being realistic. Danny, the industry is tough, and it categorizes people. You've made the best of your situation, and that's commendable. But let's not pretend that you had the same opportunities as someone like George Clooney or Brad Pitt." Danny's face turns red. You can see his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. "The same opportunities as George Clooney. Brad Pitt? Joy, do you hear yourself right now? Are you actually suggesting that my worth as an actor, as an artist, should be measured by whether I fit some narrow, superficial definition of what a leading man should look like?" The audience starts murmuring. Some people are nodding in agreement with Danny. Others look shocked that this conversation is even happening. Sunny Hostin tries to interject. "I think what Joy might be trying to say is ... No, Danny cuts her off, but he's not angry at Sunny. His focus is entirely on Joy. Let Joy say what she means, because right now what I'm hearing is that she thinks physical appearance is the most important thing in this industry, and that someone like me should just be grateful for whatever scraps I've been given." Joy's defensive now. "That's not what I said, Danny. You're twisting my words, am I?" Danny fires back, "Because it sure sounded like you just reduced my entire career to my height and my looks. Do you know how many times I've heard comments like that? Do you know how many times people have underestimated me, dismissed me, or tried to make me feel less than because I don't fit into their cookie-cutter mold of what a star should be?" The energy in the studio is electric. This isn't a scripted moment. This is raw, real emotion pouring out. Sarah N. looks like she wants to crawl under the table. Alyssa Farrah-Griffin is frozen. And Joy, for once, seems to realize she might have crossed a line. "I didn't mean to offend you," Joy says, but her tone isn't exactly apologetic. It's more defensive, like she's trying to protect herself rather than acknowledge the hurt she's caused. Danny shakes his head. "You didn't mean to offend me? Joy, you just told me and everyone watching that my success isn't really mine, that it's just a result of Hollywood putting me in a box because of how I look. How is that not offensive? I was trying to have an honest conversation about the industry, Joy responds, her voice rising slightly. About how it treats people who don't fit the conventional standards by insulting me. Danny's voice rises to, by sitting here and suggesting that I haven't earned my place, that I haven't worked my tail off for every single role I've ever gotten. Joy, I've been in this industry for over 5 decades. I've worked with the best directors, the best actors, the best writers. I've been nominated for awards. I've won awards. I've created characters that people remember and love. And you're reducing all of that to my physical appearance? Joy tries to backtrack. I think you're overreacting, Danny. I was just making an observation about the industry. No, Danny says firmly. You were making a judgment about me, and you know what the worst part is? You don't even see what you did wrong. You think because you wrapped it up in some commentary about the industry that it makes it okay to sit here and basically tell me that I'm not good enough, that I never was good enough, that I only succeeded because Hollywood needed someone who looked like me to fill a certain type of role. Whoopi tries again to redirect. Danny, we value you being here, and I think maybe we can, ... But Danny's not done. Whoopi, I love you. You know I do. But I can't let this slide, because if I sit here and smile and laugh this off, then I'm telling every person watching who's ever been judged by their appearance, who's ever been told they're not enough, who's ever been put in a box, that it's okay, that they should just accept it and be grateful. The audience erupts in applause. People are standing up. Danny's words are clearly resonating with them. Joy looks uncomfortable now, glancing at her co-hosts for support. But they're all carefully neutral. Not wanting to get dragged further into this, I've spent my entire life proving people wrong, Danny continues, his voice thick with emotion now. Every time someone told me I couldn't do something because of how I looked, I worked twice as hard to show them they were wrong. And I thought, foolishly maybe, that in this era we were past this kind of superficial judgment. But here we are, on national television, and you're telling me that my career is essentially a consolation prize. Joy's getting defensive again. You're putting words in my mouth, Danny. I never said consolation prize. Then what did you say? Danny challenges her. Go ahead, explain to me and to everyone watching exactly what you meant when you said, I'm not leading man material. Joy shifts in her seat, clearly uncomfortable with being put on the spot like this. I was simply acknowledging the reality of Hollywood's beauty standards. I wasn't attacking you personally. Danny laughs. But there's no humor in it. You weren't attacking me personally. Joy, you literally said, I'm not leading man material. How is that not personal? You didn't talk about the industry in general terms. You pointed directly at me and made a judgment about my worth based on my appearance. And then you had the audacity to act like I should just accept it as some kind of compliment because I've, quote, made the best of my situation. The other hosts are completely silent now. This has gone way beyond a typical talk show disagreement. You can feel the tension radiating through the screen. Danny's not yelling, but his voice is filled with decades of frustration, of being underestimated, of having to constantly prove himself in an industry that judges people by inches and angles. Let me tell you something about being a leading man, Danny says, his eyes locked on Joy. It has nothing to do with height or conventional good looks. It's about presence. It's about making an audience believe in you, care about you, invest in your character's journey. I've carried films, Joy. I've opened movies. I've had my name above the title. But according to you, none of that counts because I don't look like I stepped out of a cologne commercial. Joy tries to interrupt. Danny, I think you're being overly sensitive about this. Overly sensitive. Danny's voice rises sharply now. Overly sensitive. Joy, do you say things like this to other guests? If Meryl Streep were sitting here, would you tell her she's only successful because Hollywood needed someone who could play a certain type of woman? If Denzel Washington were in this chair, would you reduce his incredible body of work to how he looks? That's completely different. Joy protests. Danny demands. How is it different? Explain to me how it's different. Joy stumbles over her words. Well, I just meant that the industry has certain standards and ... and I don't meet them. Danny finishes for her. That's what you're saying, right? Then I'm somehow less than because I don't fit your definition of what a star should look like. Whoopi finally steps in more forcefully. I think we need to take a breath here and ... No, Whoopi, Danny says, but his tone with her is respectful. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but this needs to be said. Because Joy isn't the first person to say something like this to me, and she won't be the last. But maybe, just maybe, if I speak up about it now, the next person will think twice before reducing someone's entire career and life's work to their physical appearance. The audience applauds again, even louder this time. Some people are actually cheering. Danny struck a nerve, and it's clear that his words are resonating far beyond just this moment on The View. Sarah N. carefully speaks up. Danny, I think we all have tremendous respect for your career and your talent. I don't think anyone here is trying to diminish that. Danny turns to her, and his expression softens slightly. Sarah, I appreciate that. I really do. But respect isn't just about saying nice things when someone's sitting in front of you. It's about not making assumptions about what they're capable of based on superficial criteria. It's about recognizing that talent, dedication, and hard work matter more than fitting into some predetermined mold. He turns back to Joy. You want to talk about being typecast? Let's talk about it. Yes, I've played certain types of characters. But you know what? I chose many of those roles. I wasn't forced into them because no one else would hire me. I picked them because they were interesting, because they were challenging, because they allowed me to explore different aspects of human nature. When I played Louis De Palma on Taxi, that was a choice. When I played the Penguin in Batman Returns, that was a choice. When I directed Matilda and played Matilda's father, that was a choice. Joy tries to interject. I never said you didn't make choices. I just ... You just what? Danny presses. You just thought you'd come on here and make a comment about how I'm not attractive enough to be a real star. Is that it? I never used the word attractive, Joy defends. You didn't have to. Leading man material, that's code. We all know what that means. It means tall, conventionally handsome, the kind of person magazine covers are built around. And because I don't fit that description, you think my career is somehow less valid, less impressive, less worthy of recognition. Sunny Hostin carefully enters the conversation. Danny, I think what might be getting lost here is that Joy was perhaps trying to critique the system, not you personally. Danny looks at Sunny with a mixture of frustration and appreciation. Sunny, I hear what you're saying, but here's the problem. When you single someone out and use them as an example of how the system works, you're not just critiquing the system anymore. You're making it personal. If Joy wanted to talk about Hollywood's narrow beauty standards, she could have done that without pointing at me and basically saying, see, here's someone who had to settle for less because of how he looks. The studio audience is completely absorbed now. This isn't entertainment in the traditional sense. This is a real conversation about real issues, and Danny's refusing to let it be smoothed over or dismissed. Joy's getting visibly agitated. You know what, Danny? I've been doing this show for years, and I've had hundreds of guests. I've never had someone react this way to a simple comment. A simple comment. Danny's voice is incredulous. Joy, you insulted me on national television, and now you're acting like I'm the problem for calling you out on it? That's rich. That's really rich. I did not insult you, Joy insists, her voice getting louder. I made an observation about the entertainment industry by using me as your example. Danny fires back. By sitting there and telling me and millions of viewers that I'm not good enough to be a leading man. How many times do I have to say it before you understand what you did? Alyssa Farah Griffin finally speaks up. Maybe we can agree that there was a miscommunication here and ... No, Danny says firmly. This wasn't a miscommunication. Joy said exactly what she meant. She thinks I've been typecast because of my appearance, and she said so. The only thing she's sorry about is that I'm not just sitting here taking it with a smile on my face. Joy crosses her arms. You're being incredibly unfair right now, Danny. I'm being unfair. Danny's voice is filled with disbelief. Joy, you started this. You made the comment. You threw the stone. And now that I'm responding, now that I'm standing up for myself, suddenly I'm being unfair. Do you hear how that sounds? I think you're blowing this completely out of proportion, Joy says, and there's an edge of annoyance in her voice now. Out of proportion. Danny leans forward. Joy, let me ask you something. Have you ever been told you're not good enough because of how you look? Have you ever walked into a room and had people make assumptions about what you're capable of based on your physical appearance? Have you ever had to work 10 times harder than someone else just to prove that you deserve to be there? Joy pauses, and for a moment it seems like she might actually reflect on the question. But then she says, "We've all faced challenges in our careers, Danny." "That's not what I asked," Danny responds. "I asked if you've specifically been judged and dismissed because of your physical appearance in the way that you just judged and dismissed me." The silence that follows is deafening. Joy doesn't answer. She can't answer because the truth is obvious. She's never experienced what Danny's experienced. She's never had to fight against the kind of prejudice and narrow-minded thinking that he's faced throughout his career. Whoopi tries once more to move things along. "I think we've all learned something important here today about how we talk to each other and about each other." But Danny's not quite finished. "Whoopi, I love you and I respect you tremendously. But I need to say one more thing." Whoopi nods, giving Danny the floor. He takes a breath, collecting his thoughts, and when he speaks again, his voice is steadier but no less passionate. "Joy, I want you to understand something. When you make comments like the one you made today, you're not just talking about me. You're talking about every person out there who's ever been told they're not enough. Every kid who gets bullied because they don't look like everyone else. Every teenager who stares in the mirror and wonders why they weren't born different. Every adult who's been passed over for opportunities because someone decided they didn't fit the image. Your words have power, and you used that power today to tear someone down." Joy's face flushes. "I absolutely was not trying to tear you down. You're completely misinterpreting my intentions." "Then help me understand," Danny says, and there's a challenge in his voice. "Explain to me how telling someone they're not leading man material is anything other than an insult. Walk me through the logic of how that was supposed to be a compliment or a neutral observation." Joy looks around at her co-hosts, clearly hoping someone will jump in and rescue her, but they're all staying out of it now. This is between her and Danny, and they know it. "I was trying to have a conversation about the realities of Hollywood," she finally says. "By making me your example of someone who couldn't make it to the top tier," Danny asks. "By suggesting that my career has been limited by my appearance?" Joy: "I've worked with Martin Scorsese. I've worked with Tim Burton. I've worked with Steven Spielberg. I've produced films that have won Academy Awards. I've directed movies that are considered classics. But sure, let's reduce all of that to a conversation about whether I'm handsome enough." The audience erupts again. People are on their feet. Danny's words are cutting through all the noise and getting to the heart of something that matters to so many people. This isn't just about him anymore. It's about everyone who's ever felt judged, dismissed, or underestimated because of how they look. Joy's voice rises defensively. "I think you're using this as a platform to grandstand. Danny, I made a simple comment, and you've turned it into this whole dramatic production." "A dramatic production?" Danny's eyes widen. "Joy, you attacked my appearance on television, and now you're mad that I'm defending myself? Do you realize how backwards that is?" Sunny tries to mediate. "I think maybe both of you are coming from different places, and perhaps we can find some common ground here." Danny turns to Sunny. "I appreciate what you're trying to do, Sunny. I really do. But there's no common ground between respect and disrespect. There's no middle point between acknowledging someone's talent and reducing them to their physical characteristics." Joy crossed a line, and instead of owning it, she's trying to make me the bad guy for calling it out. "I am not trying to make you the bad guy," Joy protests. "I'm simply saying that you're overreacting to a comment that wasn't meant the way you took it." "Then how was it meant?" Danny demands. "I've asked you this multiple times now, and you keep deflecting. How exactly was I supposed to take a comment about not being leading man material? What positive interpretation am I missing?" Joy opens her mouth, closes it, then opens it again. "I was acknowledging that the industry has standards that aren't always fair. By perpetuating those exact standards," Danny says immediately, "don't you see the irony? You claim you were critiquing the system while simultaneously reinforcing everything that's wrong with it. You became the very thing you say you were criticizing." The other hosts exchange glances. Alyssa speaks carefully. "I think Danny makes a valid point about being mindful of how we discuss these topics." "Thank you, Alyssa," Danny says. "And let me be clear. I'm not saying Joy is a terrible person. I'm not saying she woke up this morning planning to insult me. But impact matters more than intention. The impact of her words was hurtful and demeaning, regardless of what she intended." Joy's jaw tightens. So now I'm supposed to apologize for something I didn't even mean the way you took it. An apology would be a start, Danny says quietly. An acknowledgement that your words were hurtful would be something, but instead, you've spent the last several minutes telling me I'm wrong for being hurt, that I'm overreacting, that I'm misinterpreting, that I'm grandstanding. You've done everything except actually listen to what I'm saying. The studio is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Everyone is waiting to see what Joy will say next. She looks uncomfortable, cornered, like she knows she should say something, but pride is getting in the way. Sarah jumps in softly. Joy, maybe this is an opportunity to reflect on how comments about appearance can affect people, even when we don't mean harm. Joy glances at Sarah. Then back at Danny. Fine, I'm sorry if my comment hurt your feelings. That wasn't my intention. Danny shakes his head slowly. You're sorry if your comment hurt my feelings. Joy, that's not an apology. That's you still refusing to take responsibility. You're sorry if I'm hurt, as if there's a question about whether your words were hurtful. Let me remove the if for you. Your words were hurtful. They were demeaning. They reduced my entire career to my physical appearance. There's no if about it. Joy's face reddens further. What do you want from me, Danny? You want me to grovel? You want me to say I'm a horrible person? I want you to genuinely acknowledge what you did, Danny responds. I want you to understand that words matter. I want you to recognize that you used your platform on this show to make a comment that was unkind and unnecessary. That's all. Just own it. Whoopi intervenes more firmly now. Joy, I think what Danny is asking for is reasonable. We all say things sometimes that don't land the way we intend. The question is whether we can acknowledge that and do better. Joy looks at Whoopi, then back at Danny. You can see her struggling with this, wrestling with her ego and her desire to be right. Finally, she takes a breath. Okay, Danny, I should not have said what I said. It was inappropriate to comment on your appearance and to suggest anything about your career based on how you look. I apologize. Danny studies her for a moment, and you can see him deciding whether to accept this or push further. Thank you, he says eventually. I appreciate that. And I hope you understand why I couldn't just let it go. Because if people like us, people with platforms and voices, don't speak up about this stuff, then nothing changes. The same judgments keep happening, the same narrow-minded thinking keeps prevailing, and the same people keep getting hurt. I understand, Joy says, and she sounds more genuine now. I really am sorry. I accept your apology, Danny says, and I hope that maybe this conversation, as uncomfortable as it's been, can be helpful for people watching. Maybe someone out there who's been made to feel less than because of how they look will hear this and realize that their worth isn't determined by whether they fit someone else's standard of beauty. Maybe some kid who's being bullied will hear this and understand that the problem isn't them, it's the people doing the judging. The audience applauds again, and this time, it feels different. It feels like resolution, like something meaningful has happened. Sunny smiles. That's a powerful message, Danny. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for letting me say it. Danny responds, even though it got heated, I think these are important conversations to have. Whoopi nods. They absolutely are. And I think we can all learn from this, myself included. We all have blind spots, and sometimes it takes someone calling us out to make us see them. Danny looks around at all the hosts. I didn't come here today planning to get into this. I came here to talk about my new project and have some laughs. But I'm glad we had this conversation, even if it wasn't comfortable. Sometimes the uncomfortable conversations are the most important ones, Alyssa adds. And I think your willingness to be vulnerable and honest about how comments like that affect you is really important. It's easy to assume that successful people are immune to this kind of hurt. But you've shown that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of their status or success. Exactly, Danny agrees. Success doesn't make you immune to disrespect. Money doesn't make hurtful comments hurt less. And fame doesn't mean you should just accept being judged by your appearance. Everyone deserves basic dignity and respect, and that includes not having their worth determined by how they look. Joy nods, looking more reflective now. You're right, and I'm sorry it took this whole exchange for me to really hear what you were saying. I should have listened the first time you expressed that you were hurt. We all make mistakes, Danny says. The question is whether we learn from them. I hope this can be a learning moment for everyone, including me. I could have handled this more calmly, but sometimes emotion takes over when you're dealing with something you've faced your whole life. Sarah speaks up. I don't think you need to apologize for your emotion. Danny, you were standing up for yourself and for others who faced similar judgments. That takes courage. It does. Whoopi agrees. And we're grateful you were willing to have this conversation with us, even though it got intense. Asterisk, so what did you think about how Danny handled this situation? Do you think Joy's apology was genuine? Or do you think she only said sorry because she was put on the spot? Drop a comment below with your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe, because we're always bringing you the stories that matter.